Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a new class on Arabiya. Inshallah, today we are going to continue from where we stopped. We stopped where uh, we established the fact that kalima, which is the root word, which is a kalima, which is a word, and which is the root of our discussion in grammatical uh, contexts, is into three different types as far as Arabiya is concerned. Unlike in English, where you have eight different parts of speech, as they call it, here in Arabiya you have three main parts. The first part is fi'l, which has exact equivalent as a verb. Then ismun. Ismun is not doesn't have a perfect uh, equivalent in English. Rather, it embodies and encompasses numerous parts of speech of the English. Ismun, like you have for Muhammad, you have for Usul, Tufaha, and so on. So, harf, you also have it as the last part of speech, or as the na'ul akhir, the last part of speech in Arabic. So in Arabic, fi'l is that is that word that contains meaning, that has to do with time. It contains the occurrence of a meaning of an action at a certain time in space. While ismun is something that point to an instance or a word, and doesn't have to do with timing. It doesn't have to do with past time, present times, or the present continuous tense, or any other tenses that you have out there. Ism does not have to do with that. It just gives name to a particular scene, a particular occurrence, a particular situation, a particular thing that does not have to do with time. So that's what ismun is. Harf is such a thing that it doesn't make meaning by itself as a word. It doesn't make a complete meaning by itself. It has to be joined. It has to be conjoined. It has to be in existence with other part of kalima to make to make sense and to make a meaning. So that's what we did the last time. So this time around, I wouldn't rely on the book, because the book is taking another chapter I see as not a perfect fit to be the next chapter after this. So it's taking on different categories of uh, faith. But I feel that you need to know how to identify the various classes of Kelima we've just discussed. If you need to have the ability, there are signs you need to be on the lookout for to identify a verb, a fi'l from ismu, ismu from harf. They have their signs that you need to be on the lookout for. So once you've actually consumed and understood that, then you can now talk about different parts or different type of fi'l that we have, but without discussing about the identification and the uniqueness, the those things that are peculiar to each class of word, then we might not be doing justice to the knowledge we are passing. So that's why I'm not going to take on the next chapter as is being taken in this book. And I would have loved to take this while writing on the board, but I don't have those tools and necessary thing to do that now. Inshallah, when I have, I might just give a kind of additional class on this topic. But we make do with what we have. Follow along with me as I explain the different uh, part of kalima that we have in Arabic. So, no, we are not discussing different part of kalima we have. We are discussing the signs to be on the lookout for to identify each class from another. So we start with uh Let's start with al-ismu. Al-ismu, ismu, as you have it here, it has numerous signs, but the most prominent one is anytime you see the first one, the first prominent sign of it is anytime you see a word that ends with tenween, either domatani, kesratani, or fathatani, you should know that that particular word is ismu. Anytime you see a kelima, a word ending with kesratani, fathatani, domatani, you should know that particular word is ismu. So that's the first sign. The second sign is anytime you see a word that begins with alif and lam, you should know that that particular word is what is ismu, as we have it here, min al huruf al ijahiyya. So this al huruf is what is ismu itself. Al hijahiyya is ismu itself. So anytime you have that instance, that you have such instance that a word is started with alif and lam, you should know that such a word is what is ismu. You should know that such a word is ismu. So now that's the al-hurufu al-hijahiyya. That's for the second sign. The third sign, the third prominent sign is when you have when you have um when you have a word being preceded by harfun min huruf al-jarri. If you have a word preceded by harfun min huruf al-jarri, like um huruful jar are those uh, letters that make they make the last end part of a word to take kesra. They make a word to be mujarrar, or to take kesra. So once you see a word that uh, that is preceded by harfun min huruf al-jar, you should know that such a word is what is ismu, is an ismu. So like this min now is what is harfun min huruf al-jar. It preceded this word, and because of it preceding this word is ending with kesra. If not, basically this word is supposed to be dhamma. So this very particular word has several signs for us to confirm the fact that it belongs to the class of ismu as a word in this context. Because firstly, it carries alif and lam. Secondly, it's preceded by min. Thirdly, is okay. I've not made mention of this third sign. So, but now it's confirmed with these three signs I've made mention, or with these two signs I've made mention. Generally, I've made mention of three signs. I'll go back reiterating them again. The first one is قبول التنوين أو وقوع التنوين في آخر الكلمة. Occurrence of tenween at the last end part of a word. مثل محمد عصفور تفاحة. So the second one is دخول ألف and lam على الكلمة في البداية. Occurrence of alif and lam on a word at the beginning. مثلا, example, as you have for al-huruf al-ijahiyya. Al-huruf and al-ijahiyya and al-kalimat are all what? They are all ismu because they start with alif and lam. So, wa alamatu salisa, the third sign is qubulul kalma lidukhuli harfi min huruf al-jar alayha. For a word to accept being preceded by a letter among the letters of huruful jar is the third sign. And let me mention some of the huruful jar that comes to mind now. Firstly, min, as we have it here. Secondly, fi, as we have it written here. Thirdly, ala. Fourth, an, and I've mentioned fi. So B, kaf, lam, all those ones are harfun min hurufil jar. All those letters are letters for jar. I would have preferred I just write it out on the board for you to see, but you can still follow along as I'm explaining now. So those letters are letters for what? they are letters of jar, and once they precede a word, they are definitely going to give it kesra. So they are going they clear they are clear signs of the fact that a particular word is what is ismu. The next sign, these are the three prominent signs for ismu as far as ismu is concerned. So the next discussion we have is, what are the signs for fail? What are those signs that we need to be on the lookout for to be able to identify fail from ismu in a group of sentences and words? So the first sign is the fact that those signs I've made mention for ismu, if it's not taking it, is an indication of the fact that this thing is close to be ismu. If it's not taking um if a word is not taking alif and lam, it's not being ended with tenwin, it's not being preceded by harf min huruf al jar, itself is not taking kesra. Basically, it's not taking kesra. I supposed to mention kesra for huruf, for ism too. Most words that ends with kesra, they are ism. So but if a word is not ending with kesra, you should know that that word has some signs to be faint. So it's not having all those. If a word is not having those signs that ism is having, then it's close to be what? It's close to be faint. Secondly, if a word is preceded by the letter qad, like Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala said in the glorious Quran, qad aflaha al-mu'minun. Aflaha is a verb, because is preceded by qad. Qad aflaha man tazakka, qad yaktub. So all those words that are being preceded by qad, they are what? They are fail. Secondly, if a word is preceded by sawfa, fasawfa ya'lamun, fasawfa ta'lamun, as you have it in the glorious Quran and other Arabic usage. If a word is preceded by sawfa, that next word is fail. Is a clear sign that that word is a fail. The fourth sign is, if a word is being preceded by sin, especially sin that shows istiqbal and is being joined together. Like Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala said in the glorious Quran, Sayasla naran that lahab. So if you go and look at Sayasla, if you go and look at that verb in Tabat Yada. So that the surah that started with Tabat Yada. Sayasla naran that lahab. That sayasla, you see how it's being joined together. It's an indication of the fact that that particular word is what is is a fail. That particular word is a fail. So, and that's the thing I'm trying to refer to. So I've made mention of how many signs for fail now. I've made mention of 4 signs. The first one, if it's not taking any of the sign of ismu. The second one, if it's being preceded by qad. The third one, if it's being preceded by salva. The fourth one, if it's being preceded by sin, as you have it in sayasla naran that lahabi. So those 4 signs. The fifth sign is the fact that if it ends with ta at the last end, ta utanis, that's what we call ta utanis. If at the last ending that particular word ends with ta utanis, so ta utanis is an indication of the fact that that particular word is what is a is a verb, is a fail. So like you have for katabat, sharafat, jalasat. So any word that ends with that open ta and the ta is there is having sukun, and when you get to know those distinction further, you know that this ta is signifying tanis, is signifying feminism, that the doer of that particular action is a female. So it's another sign. So I've made mention of 5 signs for final now. So lastly, harmful is the one that doesn't take the sign of ismu and doesn't have those signs of the fi'l. And when you look at the word, it's as a standalone doesn't make sense. So those three ways are the ways to identify harf. So we stop here today because of time. We continue the next time. If there's any question, you can leave it. Assalamu alaikum.